given the function, sketch a graph of the derivative, okay? So, on this first one, I'm going to set up a similar scale right next to it. Name a location on here that you definitely know the value of the derivative at, like where the value of the slope is. At 0, the slope is undefined, actually, so that's going to kind of create an asymptote on our derivative function. Prior to that, our slope is positive, right? Increasing. Not very positive at first, but then increasingly positive until it's so positive that it becomes undefined. So it's a positive slope at -4, although small. It's a positive slope at -2, although slightly smaller. And then it really shoots up, and as it gets closer and closer to 0, it's a very extremely positive slope because it's virtually a vertical line prior to that. So we get the slope increasing infinitely as we approach 0. So right before 0, there's a very, very steep positive slope until it becomes undefined right at 0. Okay? After 0, the same thing is happening. Right away after 0, we have a very, very, very steep positive slope immediately following 0. So it's a very high positive slope. And then as you go out towards 2 and towards 4, the slope is approaching what? This line is balancing out to being almost horizontal, so the slope is essentially 0. So we kind of have the same thing going on the other side for f prime. Okay? Flip over to the back. Now we're given the graph of f prime. This is f prime. Use it to identify the intervals on which f is increasing. F is increasing when the derivative is what? Correct. Derivative is positive. Where is this derivative, based on the graph, positive? Where is this graph positive? From where to where? Wrong. Yes, Paul. From -2 to -1, this is positive, because being a positive graph means that you're above the x-axis, not having a positive slope. So because the derivative is positive here, above the x-axis, then the function itself is increasing from -2 to -1. And it's decreasing from -1 to 1, because that's where the slope, the derivative, is in the negative. Okay? So where does this function also have a relative max? -1. I don't know I'm never going to know the y-coordinate, but the relative max, since think about your number line. From -2 to -1, it was increasing. From -1 to +1, it was decreasing. So you have a relative max at -1. Good? Okay. And the last one down here, f is differentiable for all x. They're telling us that the derivative is positive, aka the slope is positive from -∞ to -4. I suggest coming up with a number line. Up until -4, the derivative is positive, which means it's increasing. From -4 to 6, the derivative is negative, which means it's decreasing. And the derivative is again positive from 6 to infinity. So we have something increasing, then decreasing, then increasing again. So then they're taking these new functions and they're doing something to the old one. This one, they're stretching it vertically by a factor of 3. So if you stretch this one, that's not going to do anything right, to your maxes and mins, other than make them higher and lower, but they're still going to be at the same location. And then it's shifting everything down 3, which again, your max will still be at -4 and your min will still be at 6 because you've only moved things around vertically. So what is the slope at -5 on the new graph? Still positive, right? Still increasing there? Greater than 0? If we take negative f of x and flip it, so again, here's my rough sketch for f of x. If I flip this, right, isn't that what negative f of x does to it? Now what's the derivative at 0? 0 would be in here somewhere. Is this increasing or decreasing on this graph? Increasing, so the derivative would be positive. And lastly, if I shift, if I shift everything right 10, if I shift everything right 10, what is now going to be happening at 8? If this whole graph gets shifted right 10, where's the new maximum going to be? 6. So what's going to be, and where's this new point going to be? 16, right? So what's going to be happening at 10? At 8 it says, negative. So the derivative is less than 0. Your homework at the bottom should say that. Did you write that down? You're in a rush, huh?
Yeah.
What's the rush? Where are you going?
Get out of here.
You might want to write that down. No, I'm not going to give you that part. I'm going to give you a break. I was going to have you practice more from last night's homework. We'll give you a break.